All right, guys, I'm going to talk to you today about how to shoot with models as a photographer. How does it work? Where do we find models? How do we communicate with them? Do we contact them on social media? Where's the best place to find models? What are collaborations? What are creative collabs? Do we pay the model? Does the model pay us? How does all this work? For example, I have my YouTube channel and there's models on there all the time. Where am I finding models to do this? We'll talk about determining theme of photo shoot, setting expectations prior to the photo shoot as far as what you intend to deliver to the model after the photo shoot, like usually photos, right? And is there a fee one way or the other? We'll talk about how to go about arranging the shoot, scheduling the shoot, setting up a theme for the shoot, how to conduct yourself on the shoot, right? Professionalism. Okay. We'll talk about model safety for you models. And this is something for you photographers to understand as well. You need to understand a little bit about where the model is coming from. And at the end of the day, maybe you decide whether this is just going to be a hobby. Is this going to be a side hustle, or can you make this a career? All right. So let's start with the first one, how to find models to shoot with, right? So the first thing is, and when I started out, I don't have a portfolio. I have my Instagram. That's usually the first place, people start. I don't. I'm a beginner photographer. How do I find these models to shoot with? I've been shooting pictures of nature and the dog and the kids and the family, or if you have that or whatnot. How do I even go about this? Well, the first place I usually look is Instagram, because that's the social media. That's where everyone is at, generally speaking, right? There used to be sites, and there still are, like Model Mayhem and things like that. I've never used it, to be honest with you. So from the beginning, I will look at tags on Instagram, which are lessening in popularity, but they still work, right? The tag, like I'm from San Antonio, so I'll look at the tag San Antonio model, SAT model, SATX model, Texas model. If I'm from Austin, say it will be Austin model, ATX model. So wherever your area is, that's what you're going to want to look. If you're in the DC area, you might want to look at DMV models, right? So look at those tags, and then you're going to see the models that are in your area. You've just found models, right? Now you want to look at those models and kind of look at their experience. You can gauge whether they're kind of new, or whether they're a professional model. And a lot of times they'll say in their profile bio, you know, paid work only, no collabs, or they'll say if they do collabs. Now, we'll talk about what are collabs and how all that works. So that's by far the way that when I started shooting, that's how I found models, right? And the thing to do is, you can DM them, follow them. I usually would follow them, like 3 or 4 of their pictures, and that maybe will get their attention depending on how large their account is. If they have a huge account, they might even notice you, right? And then follow them and send them a DM. If they don't get back to you, they don't get back to you. Find a few models that you're interested in shooting with, right? And eventually somebody's going to get back to you. If you're brand new and you have no portfolio, they're not going to give you the time of day if it's a professional model, right? You got to come at them from a professional point of view. So just keep that in mind. If you're a beginner, look for other beginner models, okay? So Instagram is the primary way that I found models. Another way is to look for meetups in your area, photography meetups. Those are a big thing, at least in San Antonio. I know they happen in other larger cities as well. People will host meetups. So usually you find those meetups through other photographers on Instagram as well. So again, Instagram is the catalyst, but meetups are a great place for newer photographers and newer models to meet and shoot, right? You just go there and you can shoot or you can watch, whatever you want to do. You call them meetups, photo walks, or another thing, things like that. So that's another good option, and it's a way to meet many people start networking with other photographers. Maybe these other photographers know models, and maybe you can tag along, assist on shoots with maybe photographers who are more experienced, just to ask if they. Some photographers like to have people on the shoots. Other photographers, they just like to shoot alone. It's just the way it is. Okay. So kind of gauge, what other photographers are doing. Network with those models. Don't be weird. Don't be shy. Ask. All they can do is say no, right? But usually on meetups, everyone's there to shoot, and no one's going to say no, I don't want to shoot. Otherwise, why are they there? So I would encourage you to attend meetups. Now, when you're just starting out, who pays who? What are collaborations? I was going to say who pays who, but usually you want to start off with collaborations, okay? And that means it's also called TFP, which is an older industry term called trade for print. And that would mean the models for you, you take the photos, and then you deliver those photos to the model. So you're trading the model's time and effort and modeling for your photography, and your used to be print. Now it's, everything's digital online. You deliver the photos, and that's the agreement. They model for you, you give them photos, okay? Very important that you deliver on that promise, okay? So we'll talk about that later. Say I DM'd a model and she said yes, okay? I remember the first time I was traveling to Phoenix, and I had just shot with like some family members, my wife's cousin or whatever, and I had never shot with a model before, and I brought my camera with me. I was on the plane to Phoenix, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get off the plane. I'm going to sit down before I go get my baggage and everything. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to look in the tag, PHX models, and the first model I see, I'm going to ask her to shoot. And I did. And I sent a DM to her, and this is what you want to say. I mean, be professional. I mean, hey, you down to shoot? No, that just sounds, it's not professional at all. Come on like a professional. Say, look, I'm in the area. I'm looking to do collaborations and shoot with models. Would you be interested in scheduling a shoot with me somewhere, in Phoenix? Something like that. I don't even remember what I said, but it was something to that. Sent the DM like I was getting ready to get up and grab my bag and walk to go get my baggage, the rest of my baggage, and blink, she got back like right then and there. I was like, oh, well, that was fast. She said, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, okay, cool. So that was how it started. That was my first real model interaction, and it came out well. And I actually still talk to her every now and then. So we're friends. So how do we make connections? Social media, Instagram mainly, meetups, get out and network and meet people, look for those things, and collaborations, TFPs, okay? Those are great ways to kickstart your portfolio, right? Go out and just, the more you shoot, the better you're going to get, right? So those are the three main ways to go about finding models, okay? So let's talk about professionalism. You want to, when you finally get a model to shoot with, you want to be as professional as possible, and I just touched on that. But the first thing to do is set expectations. Figure out up front what the deliverables are going to be, and make sure that you communicate that to the model, so that her expectations are not overblown, right? A common thing is, well, the photographer, like, he must have shot like 500 photos and I only got 5, right? You don't want to set up, you're setting yourself up for disappointment from the people you're working with if you don't set the expectations clearly to begin with. Define from the beginning, this is a collaboration, okay? You're modeling for me, I'm providing you the photos. I'm going to give you X amount of photos from this shoot within X amount of time span. It's going to take me a week. It's going to take me 2 weeks, okay? And then your job as a photographer is to deliver on that promise. In 2 weeks, if that's what you said, deliver 20 photos, deliver 35 photos, give them all to her or him. Whatever you decide on, editing takes time. You got to consider that, right? So, but you have to deliver on your promise, okay? So set those expectations up front. How many photos are you going to give, and how long is it going to take to provide them, right? Okay. So discuss the deliverables. The second thing with professionalism, don't be a weirdo. Don't be a creeper. Don't be a weirdo. If you're you're in this just to meet hot girls, then get out. We don't need you in this industry, okay? I understand if it's a hobby. There's a lot of people that are hobby photographers and they love just shooting portraits. They get obsessed with lighting, off camera flash, all those things you just get obsessed with, right? And that's part of the photography journey, making a better, composition, making a better photo. All those things are so important. If you don't care about any of that and all you want to do is get girls naked and take pictures of them, then, get out. We don't need you. We need artists, right? So with that out of the way, don't be a weirdo. Don't be a creeper. Ask yourself, why are you doing this? Do you want to get better at something? I always tell people, if you're going to do something, try to be the best. Be realistic. If you're 4 foot nothing and you want to be a pro football player, it's probably not going to happen, right? So you have to be realistic. But with photography, physical attributes or whatever, you just got to be able to click that shutter and operate your camera and have a computer and maybe edit some of the photos, or maybe some of you can do it straight out of camera. But I've always wanted to be the best that I can. Am I the best? No, not even close, right? But I want to try to be the best, right? And I like shooting portraits, and I like shooting with models, male and female. There's a lot more female models out there than male, but when I get male models that come along, I shoot with male models as well. So don't be a weirdo. Don't be a creeper. Do this for the love of shooting photos, okay? Again, professionalism, don't be late. Set a time. When are we going to meet? Where are we going to meet? Don't be late. I can tell you, not always, but generally speaking, the photographer's early. And the model, if they're really good models, they're either early or they're on time. Once you get to more professional models who've been in the industry, they're going to be on time and they're going to be early as well. You get, with new models, whatever, I'm running late or whatever. Models, if you're running late, you're going to be late, communicate that to the photographer, or they're just sitting around wasting their time waiting for you. It's extremely annoying, right, when you do that. So communicate. Again, big thing is communication. So don't be late, be punctual, be on time. If you're not going to be on time due to extenuating circumstances, communicate that as far in advance as you can, okay? So preparing for the shoot, you want it to, as far as professionalism goes, we've already talked about what we're going to do, what we're going to deliver. This is a collab. You're going to model for me. I'm going to give you pictures in a set amount of time, right? Discuss what the theme is going to be. What are we going to shoot, right? Put together a mood board. Look up mood board. It's just a collection of shots. If you don't want to put together a mood board, say, here's the inspiration. Get on Pinterest. Figure out what your theme is and send 4 or 5 shots. Consider, what the model is wearing, what the wardrobe is, and the location. Okay. What does it look like? And then pick a location that sort of matches the theme, right? That's your job, I think, as a photographer, to do that. If you're just working with a model and you're asking her to shoot, right? Give her some of that direction ahead of time and allow for her to provide feedback as well. What do you think about this? And then you're directly engaging the model and asking for their opinion on what they think about what you're doing. And it's a creative process. Both of you need to work on this, and both of you should be able to have input, right, for this process. Okay. So put together a mood board, go out on Pinterest, send inspo shots, say, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to meet. This is the time, and this is the date. Now, set the expectation. Who is going to be on the shoot? And models, this is important. Who is going to be present, especially if you're a female model and, photography is a male-dominated industry. There are female photographers as well. But if you're a female model, you don't know this photographer, you've never shot with them before, you're agreeing to meet them sometimes out in wherever, not, it's got to be if it's someone you've never met, make it a public place where there's people around, okay? Safety, let's talk about that, model safety. I've had models that they just showed up and, I'm like, you just came out in the dark to meet me and there's hardly anybody out here and you don't have any problem. No, it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's like, well, you should. You don't know me. You don't know what I'm capable of. And what a lot of guys will do too, and men, you've got to set the expectation. Who's going to be present on that shoot? I mentioned that. Don't say it's just going to be me and you, or not say at all. And then you show up to the shoot with your entourage of a bunch of dudes, and the model is by herself. That's extremely, for a female, that can be, there's a power play going on there, and she's at a disadvantage. And you have to understand that in that scenario. And that's very, can be very unnerving for people, right? And when you're working with a model, you want them to be able to relax and, perform at their best as a model. You don't want to show up and all of a sudden you've got a video crew that you never mentioned, right? Mention all that stuff up front. Say, hey, I want to make a YouTube video out of this too, or get some behind the scenes, and I have this other gentleman that's going to be with me. Is that okay with you? And I would encourage you females, if it's the first time you shot with a photographer, or the second or the third, bring a friend, right? If you are alone, you are at a disadvantage. Bring a friend with you always, okay? Let's talk about, you finally get on the shoot, right? We've decided on a location. We're meeting in a public place. Everyone knows who's going to be there, right? We know what the theme is. We know what the model is going to wear. Model, wear what you said you were going to wear, or something along those lines. Don't change the theme up. Model or photographer, don't get on the spot and go, oh, I decided to do this. That's not cool. Why did we even talk about it to begin with ahead of time, right? That goes back to those expectations. Stick with the theme. If it's not working out, models, and you can't put the outfit together and you want to pull something else together, communicate that. Say, what do you think about this, right? Goes back to expectations, okay? So we're on the shoot. Make sure photographers or whoever decided on the location that you're allowed to shoot there. You do not want to get kicked out, and that will happen, right? Don't just assume because it's a public place that you can go there and start shooting away. Make sure that it's acceptable to shoot there, and security is not going to come up and boot you out. It's embarrassing. It looks unprofessional. So these are things that whoever decided on the place needs to follow up and make sure it's okay to shoot there. Okay. Otherwise, if you get the boot, it's a little embarrassing. Now, if you want to go rogue and you want to go someplace and we're going to go commando, we're going to go in there and we're going to shoot and we're going to try to get away with something, right? Be prepared to get kicked out and have a plan B, okay? Of when you get kicked out, what are you going to do then, right? Have another location lined up, okay? Okay, so while you're shooting, photographers, you tend to do this. I've done it before. Talk during the shoot. Communicate. Don't just sit there clicking away and not saying anything. You just click, 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 click. And especially when you're new, you tend to overshoot, right? Provide the model feedback. Tell them, hey, oh, I like that. Maybe, hey, can you turn this way? Oh, let's move over there. Good. I love that. Okay, that's a great. Provide that positive reinforcement to the model. Say something. Don't just sit there and shoot away, right? Think of, just say, oh, cool, I like that. Oh, maybe can you do your hair like this? Pay attention to the wardrobe, the hair, and all that. Say it looks great. Thanks so much for putting it all together. But communicate and try to be funny even if you're not funny. You know what I mean? Just try to break the ice a little bit. Get things into a relaxed mood, okay? Don't get stuck in one position, photographers. What I mean is you sit there and you shoot 500 photos in the same spot. Why? Why are you doing that? You got 500 photos of the same photo in the same spot. Get a few shots and move on. Here's some things that work. Tell yourself, all right, I'm going to go to this spot and I'm going to shoot 20 shots, okay? And I'm not going to shoot any more than 20 shots. And if I don't get the shot in 20 shots, then it's time to move on. I ain't getting the shot, right? It's time to move on, move to the next location in the area if there's multiple areas where you want to shoot, right? So, that's the first thing. The other thing is if I've had this before, my flash breaks down or whatever, or my trigger is not working, or my battery runs out on whatever my gear. Don't sit there and fiddle with the gear for an hour. You got to move on. You got to be able to just take your camera and shoot natural light if you're a flash shooter. If you can't shoot natural light, or I'm a flash shooter, who cares? You're taking pictures. If you don't know you need to know how to shoot flash. You need to know how to shoot natural light. You need to know all of these things. Don't just be one-dimensional, right? I've had this happen before. My trigger, I dropped my camera. The trigger broke off of the hot shoe. Thank God the camera still worked, but the trigger was toast. I didn't bring an extra trigger. You can. It's a small item that it's a good idea to maybe keep one in the car, right? I didn't have an extra trigger, and I said, well, looks like we're shooting natural light. Let's go. I didn't hesitate. Let's just go do it. And we killed it. So, don't waste time fiddling with your gear. Have your shit together. Take the shots, okay? So, at the end of the shoot, you've been professional. She's been professional. You got a lot of good shots. You guys are happy. Make sure you reinforce what are the deliverables going to be. Am I going to deliver 20 photos in X amount of time? That kind of thing, and follow through on that. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of models. I never got my photos, and now how long do I have to wait? It's been a month. It's like, seriously, you can't edit the photos in a month. If it's going to be a month, then you need to communicate that up front. Okay, so again, set those expectations. So once you do this for a while and you've been collaborating for a while, you need to decide: do I want this to be a hobby? Do I want to start making a little money at this? Is this a side hustle, or do I want to do this, as a career? Number one, don't just quit your day job and, I'm going to be a photographer, and you go quit your day job. That's not the way to go. Okay. Some people will say, in order to be successful at your dream, you have to immerse yourself 100% into that dream, let everything else go. Well, I mean, if you've got rent to pay and a car payment to pay and the light bill to pay, it's not going to do you any good to be homeless, right? So I would encourage you to keep your day job and work on building those jobs and building your side career there. And at some point, when you can see the light at the end of the tunnel and you know how everything works and how to get jobs, and you can see that you're going to bring in enough income potentially from your side hustle to cover what your day job does, then you can throw yourself all 100% into, your photography thing, and towards not a side hustle, it's a full-time thing. I will tell you this: the jobs are not going to fall into your lap. I don't care how good of a photographer you are or how good you think you are. The jobs are not going to come to you. You have to go to them. You have to ask. You have to send emails. You have to reach out to people, professional companies, those kind of things, and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I can do. This is what I can do for you. Okay. Hey, let's talk about it. Okay. And then if you can get that discussion with a brand, a company, find out what their needs are, ask a lot of questions, and I'm going to make this brief. There's more to it than this, but ask a lot of questions. Start building out a list of requirements that they would need. What do they want? What is their time frame? What are they looking for exactly? What are they hoping that this will look like when we get to the end? Okay. Pay is nice. When it's collaborations, that's not going to happen right away. Generally speaking, I still do creative collabs. I still collab with models that I enjoy shooting with, and I think you have to do that. You get an idea, and that's where the creative side comes out, and where you're just having fun. It's not. Don't think that every time you pick up the camera you got to do it to get paid, because then it just becomes a job and you don't enjoy it anymore. That's the thing. That's the rub. When you start doing it for pay, it's, I got to go do this and I really don't feel like it. Or you get excited about shooting some things, right? But this is like, I got to go do a family shoot, right? I'm not too excited about it. That's not as much fun as like shooting with, a beautiful model with high fashion, with a makeup artist and a creative director. That's a blast. Let me tell you, it's a lot of work, but to me, that's a blast. That is just so much fun. And then going out, nothing against families, I have one. Going out and doing a family shoot is not quite as much, it's not as glamorous, right? There's not as much to it. You're dealing with, I have children, but you're dealing with children that are, acting up and all that. It's just not as much fun. So you have to decide, what your niche is too, and what you're willing to do and not willing to do. So that is pretty much in a nutshell how to shoot with models. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Give it a like and a subscribe. The like really helps the video to get seen, and let me know in the comments other suggestions you have as far as how to work with models, how to act professional with models, setting expectations, deliverables, themes, wardrobe, all that stuff. Let me know what kind of suggestions you have. All right. Thanks for watching.